This is the Weekend Roundup here on the EAC Cambodia channel, your look back at the week that was in the Kingdom of Wonder. A very good evening to you. I'm Andrew Barnes-Roberts. Prime Minister Hunsen has apologised to the UK's Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab for cancelling the pair's meeting scheduled for Wednesday. The Prime Minister is under quarantine at home until the 3rd of July after having come into indirect contact with someone infected with COVID-19 last week. It is not known who that person is, but the Prime Minister was advised to begin quarantine on Saturday. Dominic Raab is still scheduled to arrive in Phnom Penh on Tuesday for his two-day visit. The highlight was to have been his meeting with the Prime Minister at the Peace Parliament on Wednesday morning, but Raab will still meet with Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mr. Prak Sokhonn. He will go on to meet with Environment Minister, Mr. Sai Samal, and will also visit the Tul Sleng Genocide Museum and the Documentation Centre of Cambodia. Prime Minister Hun Sen has issued an apology to the UK Foreign Secretary for his unavailability. In his Facebook announcement on Saturday, he also said that he begged for understanding while also apologising to others whose face-to-face meetings with him had been cancelled for the next 14 days. The Prime Minister has assured Cambodians that while he might be quarantining, he is still conducting government business and other meetings online. This is the second time that the Prime Minister has been quarantined after last November's meeting with the Hungarian Foreign Minister, who tested positive for COVID-19. Phnom Penh's high-risk businesses are hoping the latest 14-day extension to their closure will be the last and that they will be allowed to reopen from Sunday the 4th of July. The capital administration announced a further extension at the weekend for 14 days through Saturday the 3rd of July. Schools, vocational training centres, KTVs, nightclubs, beer gardens, casinos, museums, massage parlours and gyms are all deemed to be high risk for COVID-19 infection. They've been closed since March. In addition to those businesses still shuttered, the Phnom Penh capital administration says it might decide to suspend other business activities if cases do not start coming down. It says officials will also tighten up the monitoring of private gatherings. Any gathering of more than 15 people is currently banned until further notice. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. Health officials said last week that Phnom Penh's mass vaccination drive will be complete by the 8th of July. With the capital fully vaccinated, a full reopening could well be considered early next month. 3 activists working with the Mother Nature organization are behind bars awaiting their next court date. They were charged in the Phnom Penh Municipal Court on Monday for insulting the king and creating social instability. According to Mother Nature's Facebook page, Yim Ling He, Lee Chandaravut and Srun Rata were arrested last week while filming sewage discharge along Phnom Penh's riverside. Presenting evidence against the 3, police have revealed video from a Facebook group showing the accused making comments about the king in Khmer that are considered to be deeply offensive. If convicted, they face jail terms of at least 10 years each. Cambodia considers Mother Nature a banned organization after its founder, Alejandro Gonzalez Davidson, was deported last year. But the group remains active on Facebook and its highly politicized website. Davidson has been charged in absentia. According to Phnom Penh Municipal Court Deputy Prosecutor Plang Sapal, the 4 have been charged under Articles 437 and 453 of Cambodia's Criminal Code. 3 other Mother Nature activists were sentenced to 18 months in prison in May after having been arrested last September. Reacting to yesterday's court appearances, US Ambassador W. Patrick Murphy released a short statement via Twitter saying he was deeply troubled by the news and that documenting pollution is a public service, not terrorism. He says the US Embassy is urging authorities to be responsive to citizens, not silence them. We're over halfway to the day when a road trip between Phnom Penh and Sihanoukville takes 2 to 3 hours. Minister of Public Works and Transport, Mr. Sun Chantol, led a senior government delegation on an inspection visit on Monday, declaring that the expressway was just over 55% complete. The 190-kilometre stretch is on track to be completed by the end of May 2023 at the latest. Construction began in July 2019. The dual carriageway, which will be tolled in parts, is being built by the PPSHV Expressway Company, a subsidiary of the China Road Bridge Corporation. By the time it's finished, it will have cost just over $2 billion and will link 5 provinces: Phnom Penh, Kandal, Kampong Spu, Koh Kong and Pria Sihanouk. The expressway will be Cambodia's first and is expected to be a major boom for tourism and logistics, dramatically reducing the cost and time involved in the journey. Speaking to the media during Monday's visit, government officials thanked the Ministry of Health for its cooperation in allowing construction to continue during the pandemic. Special vaccination drives have been organized for the project's workforce, and the construction schedule has been unaffected. For the first time since 1953, a British Foreign Secretary has visited Cambodia. Dominic Raab arrived in Phnom Penh from Vietnam on Tuesday night for the second leg of his 3-nation Southeast Asian tour. He's held talks with his Cambodian counterpart, Mr. Prak Sokhonn, as well as Environment Minister, Mr. Sai Samal. He was due to meet with Prime Minister Hun Sen, but that had to be cancelled, with the Prime Minister quarantining at home after having had indirect exposure to COVID-19 last week. Dominic Raab tweeted on Tuesday night that he was here to make Britain a force for good in the Indo-Pacific region. He said he would be supporting Cambodia's energy transition, expanding UK-ASEAN cooperation, and boosting trade. Not surprising, given that the UK is trying to sign as many free trade agreements as possible in the wake of its exit from the European Union. The British Embassy in Phnom Penh also stressed that the visit would see discussions on the UK's bid for ASEAN Dialogue Partnership status ahead of Cambodia's chairmanship of ASEAN in 2022. He first met with Environment Minister Mr. Sai Samal, who asked Mr. Raab to buy carbon credits from Cambodia to contribute to the conservation of forests and wildlife, as well as contribute to economic development. The Environment Minister also requested British assistance when it comes to the management and protection of environmental resources. He says the UK's Foreign Secretary has promised to send a fact-finding team to Cambodia to study the areas in which it can help. From that meeting, it was straight into another with Cambodia's Foreign Minister, Mr. Prak Sokhonn. After their talks, Mr. Raab tweeted that he was delighted to discuss our shared priorities such as trade, human rights and Myanmar. He added that the UK was looking forward to working more closely with Cambodia during its 2022 ASEAN chairmanship. Mr. Raab wrapped up his day in the country with a visit to the Tul Sleng Genocide Museum and the Documentation Centre of Cambodia before leaving for Singapore. The World Health Organization says there has been a massive drop in reported cases of dengue fever across Southeast Asia this year. Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, the Philippines, Laos and Cambodia are all enjoying a vastly improved dengue fever season, with Cambodia's case count down 72% on last year, which was already 88% down on the year before. The WHO says that the COVID-19 pandemic may have led to some underreporting of cases, but also believes that the pandemic's lockdowns and social distancing measures have had some positive effects. When the pandemic hit last year, many experts predicted a surge in dengue cases, with people spending extended periods of time at home. But it would seem the opposite is true. The WHO has noted that less movement of people in cities especially could well be behind the drop in cases, putting a renewed focus on dengue control measures at schools and places of work. Dengue fever is a potentially fatal disease spread by infected Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. They're the ones with the black and white stripes. Their larvae can survive more than a year before developing into mosquitoes when the first monsoon rains arrive. The drop in cases is welcome news in Cambodia, which experienced a surge in cases in 2019. Over 60,000 people became infected, and there were over 150 deaths. At the time, scientists said this was part of a seasonal cycle, with cases peaking every 5 to 10 years. The lawyer for the 3 Mother Nature activists is busy preparing an appeal for bail. Mr. Sam Sok Kong is reported as saying that the charges his clients face are grave, but they were working to build a public movement to protect the environment. He has yet to comment on Wednesday night's statement from the Ministry of Information that the 3 have confessed, although no further details have been released about the nature of those confessions. 26-year-old Sun Rata and 32-year-old Yim Ling Hee have been charged with conspiracy and with lèse-majesté, or insulting the king. 22-year-old Lee Chandaravut has been charged with plotting to topple the government. They could face jail terms of between 5 and 10 years. Mother Nature founder Alejandro González Davidson was deported from Cambodia back in 2015 and has been charged in absentia. In Wednesday night's statement, the Interior Ministry said the 3 had confessed to plotting to overthrow the royal government, but did not provide any further details about the confessions themselves. Earlier this week, prosecutors released evidence of a Zoom meeting the activists held in May this year, during which the king was insulted. The royal government considers the activities of Mother Nature illegal, having banned the organization when Davidson was deported 6 years ago. But the group remains active on Facebook and its website. The arrest of the young activists was raised by visiting UK Foreign Secretary Mr. Dominic Raab on Wednesday during his meeting with Deputy Prime Minister Mr. Prak Sokhonn. Mr. Raab later told a reporter that the UK and Cambodian governments had agreed to have human rights dialogue. He also confirmed that he did raise the UK government's concern around the recent criminal investigation, detention and prosecution of the Mother Nature activists. Raab says he made the argument that opposition criticism and media criticism can be painful, but it all contributes to the scrutiny of the government, he said, and the improvement of the government itself. Also on Wednesday, in a meeting with outgoing French Ambassador Ms. Eva Nguyen Bin, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of the Interior Mr. Sa Keng stated that the arrest of the 3 Mother Nature activists was a clear indication of their past activities. He said Cambodia had no choice but to enforce the law. It's going to be a few frustrating days for businesses in Phnom Penh. Electricité du Cambodge is carrying out repair and replacement work on power lines across the capital. Power cuts will be made between 8 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon in some areas, but from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. in others. Sen Sok and Por Senche will be hardest hit, with their communes or Sangkats being affected every day through Sunday. Disruptions in Ras Kiau came to an end on Thursday afternoon. Friday will see power outages in parts of Tul Kork, Troy Changva, Sen Sok and Por Senche. They will also be affected on Saturday, along with parts of Mien Che, Kambol and Chaba Ampo. It'll be the same again on Sunday, along with Dawn Pen, as well as Takmau City in Kandal. Frustrating, yes, but worth remembering that these disruptions are due to scheduled maintenance and are a lot easier to cope with than the rolling blackouts Phnom Penh experienced for weeks back in early 2019. 1 million doses of Sinovac vaccine will arrive in Cambodia on Saturday. A further 1 million doses will arrive on Monday. The doses have been bought from China and will ensure that Cambodia's vaccination drive will continue at pace. Phnom Penh's adult population will be fully vaccinated early next month, while vaccines are being rolled out in new population centres almost every week. Kandal was the first province beyond the capital to get its vaccination drive underway. Vaccinations began in Pria Sihanouk last week, with everyone in downtown Sihanoukville receiving their first dose in just 2 days. Shots are now being administered at the city's special economic zone. Assisting the Ministry of Health are the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces, which are busy rolling out vaccines in high-density locations in Pria Sihanouk, as well as Koh Kong, Takau and Kampong Spu. Defence Minister Mr. T. Ban says other provinces at high risk with large numbers of garment factories will be next, including Svay Rieng, Kampong Cham and Kampong Chenang. Vaccines are being rolled out according to the royal government's Blossom strategy. That's high-density population centres first, then high-risk locations in other parts of the country before spreading to more remote areas. Cambodia is aiming to inoculate 10 million of its adult population by November. Cambodia's fight against COVID-19 and its post-pandemic recovery have received a major shot in the arm. The World Bank's Board of Executive Directors has approved a $200 million International Development Association credit for the country on Friday. The funds are designed to assist Cambodia deal with its current crisis by providing relief to those worst affected, but also to boost the country's economic recovery. World Bank Country Manager for Cambodia, Ms. Nguna Dobraja, says there's a clear need in Cambodia to provide resources quickly in support of the royal government's comprehensive program that protects the poorest from the impacts of the crisis. She says the new funds will also help Cambodia with its economic and social recovery post-pandemic. The World Bank says Cambodia is facing an unprecedented economic crisis. In 2020, its economy contracted for the first time in 30 years by 3.1%. The 20 February community outbreak has only made things worse. Economic sectors most impacted are garment manufacturing, tourism and construction, creating additional challenges for a sustained recovery. The World Bank worries that without financial support, the pandemic in Cambodia could yet result in an even sharper rise in unemployment and poverty. It says the royal government has done well to introduce emergency response measures and is already preparing a post-COVID economic recovery plan. The bank says its latest cash injection will support those actions. Australia is working with Cambodia on the implementation of the country's new disability law. It has been helping to support Cambodians with disabilities for over 10 years. The Australian Human Rights Commission met with Secretary of State in the Ministry of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation, Mr. M. Chan Makara, on Friday morning, who is also Secretary-General of the Disability Action Council. It was 2009 when Cambodia first promulgated its law on the protection and promotion of rights of persons with disabilities. The royal government is now working on a complete revision of that legislation. Secretary-General of the Disability Council, Mr. M. Chan Makara, says the overhaul of the existing law comes at a time when the political, economic, social and cultural situation in Cambodia is evolving. He says people with disabilities are receiving protection and are guaranteed their full rights and freedoms. The new law would aim to completely eliminate discrimination, most especially in the workplace, respect their dignity and improve their built environment. Consultations have already been held with Cambodia's development partners, including the UN Development Programme, NGOs, people with disabilities and civil society, while discussions are ongoing to ensure the new disability law is comprehensive as well as enforceable. Australian Embassy Charge d'Affaires Mr. Luke Arnold congratulated Cambodia on the new law, which was bringing its legislation in line with international conventions. He says it's important that the law suited Cambodia's own context, but hoped that lessons and experience in improving the lives of people with disabilities could be shared between Cambodia and Australia. Dr. Ben Gauntlet, the Disability Discrimination Commissioner at the Australian Human Rights Commission, joined the meeting virtually. He says he welcomes the opportunity to review Cambodia's progress towards the new law and has commended the Disability Council for its leadership, while saying he looks forward to ongoing consultation. Mr. M. Chan Makara thanked the Government of Australia for its support of the royal government's efforts in improving the lives of people with disabilities. After the break, it's Alessio Mezzoni with sport and lifestyle. EAC Cambodia's audience is growing. Our YouTube channel now has 150,000 verified subscribers. To mark the milestone, we've received the Silver Creator Award from YouTube, given to channels with over 100,000 subscribers. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki says the award celebrates EAC Cambodia's hard work and incredible achievement. She says not only has EAC Cambodia brought a unique voice and style to the world, but has also created valuable connections and built a community along the way. The next milestone we're going for is 1 million subscribers, and we'd really like that Gold Creator Award. So if you're not already a subscriber, head to www.youtube.com/EARTS Cambodia. Subscribers get all the latest breaking news and updates from Cambodia in English. We'll see you there. If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of eArts Cambodia's platforms and channels. YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eartscambodia.com. Join me, Andrew Barnes-Roberts, and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
An international film crew hopes to start shooting a new Hollywood movie in Siem Reap and at Angkor Wat early next year. 37 Heavens tells the story of Jackie Kennedy in 1967, visit to Cambodia and her romance with a British diplomat. The movie takes its name from Angkor Wat's first-level South Gallery, which depicts 32 hells and 37 heavens. The film explores a little-known period of the life of the former US First Lady. She visited Cambodia in 1967 together with a British diplomat, Lord David Harlech. They stayed with Cambodia's premier, then Prince Sihanouk, who wanted to build stronger ties with the US. At the time, Lord Harlech was also on a secret mission for Robert Kennedy to negotiate an end to the Vietnam War. Shooting is set to get underway early next year, and it is expected to provide a much-needed boost to the tourism in Siem Reap, which has been decimated by the pandemic. About a dozen international films have been shot at Angkor, perhaps the most famous being Lara Croft Tomb Raider, starring Angelina Jolie. China is busy developing what will be the world's fastest train. The prototype, capable of hitting speeds of 620 km per hour, has been unveiled in Chengdu. It's hoped it'll be on the tracks for next year's 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing. The train runs on a high-temperature superconducting power that makes it look as if it's floating along the magnetic tracks. The sleek 21-meter prototype should be in mass circulation in China over the next 5 years, but developers are wanting it in service initially for the Winter Olympics. China is already home to the world's fastest commercial train, the Shanghai Maglev, that has a top speed of 431 km per hour. This time, last year, China unveiled a new 174-kilometer high-speed railway line connecting Beijing with another of its Winter Olympic host venues, Zhangjiakou, that cut the travel time between the two from 3 hours to just 47 minutes. A team of experts has identified the not-so-secret factors behind why people in certain areas of the world live longer. These areas, called blue zones, are Sardinia in Italy, the Japanese city of Okinawa, Icaria in Greece, California's Loma Linda, and the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica. All of these areas are home to a large percentage of elderly people, on average much older than in other parts of the world. So, what's the secret to a long life? The research team has identified 9 general factors related to diet and lifestyle that can be summarized in 2 categories. Firstly, physical well-being, which implies regular intense exercise routine to provide a break from daily stress, and eating more plant-based food. Drinking excessively is bad, but a small amount of alcohol here and there might help, confirming the belief that moderate drinkers live longer than non-drinkers. Also, eating moderately without filling up completely seems to help extend your life. The research also highlights the importance of mental well-being. Having solid relationships helps your peace of mind, as does engaging in social groups to promote healthy habits. The last piece of the puzzle in living longer is what the Japanese call ikigai. Think of it as your reason for getting up in the morning. People with this so-called reason for being tend to have a lot more candles on their birthday cakes. Euro 2020 has reached its knockout rounds and the last 16 are now known, following Wednesday night's thrilling conclusion to the group stage. In Group E, Spain thrashed Slovakia 5-0 in Sevilla, printing the Red Devils ticket to the knockout stage. In Group F, France ended the group on top, with 5 points after a 2-2 draw against Portugal. The knockout matches will begin on Saturday, leading to the July 11 final at Wembley, and each side now knows the path that could potentially lead them to London. England taking on Germany will be the first headline clash of the final 16 matches. It will then be Italy against Austria and Belgium against Portugal. Stay tuned to EAC News for all the latest results from the first international sporting since the pandemic began. The 2020 Tokyo Olympics get underway for weeks on Friday, and the new event, sport climbing, will be making its debut. According to the International Federation of Sport Climbing, there will be 40 athletes participating in the Summer Games. The event includes 3 disciplines: speed, bouldering, and lead. Climbing is slowly gaining popularity in Cambodia. It all started in Siem Reap back in 2008, when the NGO Anchor Climbers Net was founded by Japanese and Cambodian donors. Their mission was to help improve the health of Cambodian children through sports climbing. The NGO also contributed to the founding of the Cambodian Climbing Federation, which selects the best athletes to be part of the national team. The National Federation, which is officially registered as a member of the International Federation of Sport Climbing, took part in its first international competition at the Asian Youth Championships held in Chongqing in 2018. It had no luck back then, but it was a good start, and hopefully we will see Cambodia represented in sport climbing at the 2024 Olympics in Paris. If you are in Phnom Penh, the Phnom Penh Climbing Gym is the only facility in the capital to train your sport climbing skills. The gym was seeing a steady increase in members before it was forced to suspend operations due to the pandemic. It's hoping to be able to reopen soon.
Thank you for watching the Weekend Roundup here on the EART's Cambodia channel. More from the EAC News team in the Daily Roundup, Monday nights at 8. We'll see you then.